Now back to the Carl Nelson Show
on Washington, D.C.'s 1450.
1450 WOL Radio.
And thank you for staying with us, folks. Before we get back to Greg, just want to remind you, Mark from Anaheim is going to join us tomorrow. A lot of the stuff we talk about here, he's going to touch on it as well. And Dr. Claude Anderson is going to stop by on Monday. Let's go back to D. Gregory, because I know he wants to talk about the stock market as well, how they reacted to Trump's victory. Greg?
God bless. See, what happened is, if you things before we do the stock market, let's do the baseball playoffs. Gamblers. You got the Chicago Cubs, and you got the Cleveland Indians. Now, neither one of them teams have qualified to go to the World Series in 40-some years. And white folks went, the cheapest tickets was $4,000. So you know how depressed they got to be to pay that kind of money to go see two teams that's been that bad that long. Now, let's watch it go. Gamblers. So if Cleveland beats Chicago 3 games in a row, so now in order for Chicago to win, they got to win 4 in a row. In order for Cleveland to win, they got to win 1. So here's how we gamble. There's no way anybody in their mind can believe that here's a team that just beat you 3 games in a row. They need to win 1. You need to win 4. So the gamblers will bet unless they know the game is tricked or something. But the gamblers know that Cleveland will beat 1 game out of the next 4, but they don't know which one it is. So you bet on Cleveland for all of them, and billions of dollars was lost. That's what this game is, huh? And so when you talk about gambling, there's people, the Pullman porters. Most of the Pullman porters, well, when the guy had them, Richard Pullman out of Chicago, he said there's enough white folks in America, he didn't say white, wealthy folks, to have their own train car where their food is cooked there, where they take baths, take showers. They have their private car. Now, before that, the only people that like presidents and heads of state, they would hook their cars on to the average train car. But now this car is theirs, okay? They hook it there, but they got different services. The Pullman porters, when they hired them, Richard Pullman, he said, we want some 6'3", dark-complected Negroes with beautiful white pearly teeth and a good smile. And so they put them together, and 98% of the Pullman porters died millionaires. Why? Because they heard these white folks. You invisible, they don't see you. And so they heard these white folks talk about the deals they was going to pull, the stock market they was going to fix. So they went back and they told it to the community. 99% of Pullman porters' children went to college. Why? Because they hear these white folks talk. They know what's going to be tricked and what's not going to be tricked. And so consequently, if you don't have no information, you just going by hunches, then why wouldn't you? And so I listen to people. I listened to the show yesterday, and here's a brother call up, and he's right. For you to stoop to vote for the lesser of the 2 evils, you have to have evil in you, okay? That's how Hitler came to power, the lesser of the 2 evils. And you know, there's few people that know when Hitler came to power, he won by 288 votes. And if there's a God at all in there, we're not talking about the church, the Catholic Church, the Baptist Church. We're talking about the universal God that made the stars, the moon, the whole universe. That God do not take no slack. And so if somebody's raping a woman and I'm holding her, they can't get me for rape, but I've committed a crime somewhere. And so consequently, when we sit and talk about the lesser of the two evils, you damn right you should end up with the evil of the evil. And I say that knowing how many millions of dollars I spent on the movement, all the things I put my life on. I'm just as filthy as they are, because every time I get on a plane, last time I was on a big flight was here to Budapest, round trip first class, $42,000 round trip, plus 12% tax. That tax money go to this filthy government to buy bullets and guns to kill women and children on the ground. I got to pay for that, okay? So when it falls on my grandchildren and my children, I just look up and say, what took you so long? Y'all think y'all better? Y'all think there's some church in yourself? You send your children to war because they can't find a job? Oh, you can say that to the Catholic Church and the Baptist Church. And I'm not one of these church haters. Let me tell you what the church means, and all you punks out there that don't know a damn thing, that's your fault. But there was a time when your grandmother died in Mississippi, and you had to call the Baptist Church, the Lutheran Church, to get you a P route, because there was no restaurant you could go into, there was no hotel and you better not be caught sleeping on the highway. And to get on a bus or a train, it was segregated, and so you called the reverend, and they called somebody. You have a child arrested or you arrested, you didn't call a lawyer, you didn't have none. You called the church, and a member in that church would come and fix it, or have the preacher called in to the judge, and they might cut you some slack with no bail putting up. So all this stuff y'all sitting here talking about, all this crap, the Black Panthers, let me tell you, Huey Newton and Eldridge Cleaver was government agents. Now, y'all talk all that crap you want. The reason they killed, somebody said, yeah, they set up a damn thing. The food program was set up by Fred Hampton in Chicago, and that's why they killed him. When they got through using Eldridge Cleaver, which wasn't nothing but a drug-pushing punk, they killed him. When they got through using Eldridge, they made like he was peeping in a white woman's window on a ladder and slipped and fell. So this is the game. So that's okay. You get what you pay for. I mean, and when you think about the brilliant people that calls into this show, and we don't have to pay no money, but when you sit and you listen, my mother hears the stuff I say on this show and the rest of them, she'd call the police on me, and that's my mother. My mother told me Santa Claus was a white man, and she was buying the toys. Huh? And if you stupid enough to believe the Ku Klux Klan determine public policy, you are some kind of fool. Most of them can't read or write, ain't never been to school, huh? But they determine public policy. If Donald Trump was doing something that the rich Republicans, like Henry Ford, Rockefeller, DuPont, if he was doing something they didn't want, they'd have put a bullet through his head a long time ago like they did Kennedy. So, but this is a game, and you turn on this show because you get to hear stuff. You can tell when Anaheim comes on. You can tell people that call in, and then how many people trick then call in. You can catch them because you out there. You know, because you've been doing the show for so long. And so consequently, when you sit up and listen to that crap they was running down, and I say this again, if any of you ever looked at Trump's TV shows, brilliant, wipe the networks out. Now how he gets so stupid all at once, huh? If you hadn't listened to this show, you wouldn't have known that Hillary and Trump are cousins, okay? The New York Times not running it. Okay, this is the game. And so consequently we sit and we look at the stuff they put on TV about Ferguson. When he came out that liquor store, he had on flip-flops and short pants. 15 minutes later, he laying dead out there. and long pants and Nike tennis and put it right in front of your face? But you've been reduced to such a nothing. You don't even see it. Here's a brother said, William Johnson said, oh, his hands was up. That went all over the world. His hands was up. And then one day I get a call and said the FBI has him under federal protection, just like Malcolm. When I found out they had Malcolm's autopsy, I called and I said to my contact, I said, look, what y'all doing? That wasn't a federal crime. When Malcolm got killed, he wasn't robbing the bank. What are you all doing with it? So I get a copy of the autopsy, okay? And so now I'm saying this to say this here. So when you sit and you listen to what they tell us, so we go back to Ferguson. He's laying there for 4 hours. You didn't see an ambulance. You didn't see nobody show up from the coroner's office. Then we find out that his best friend, the one that told the world his hands was up, we found out that, he had his best friend. Why is he under federal protection? Well, then we found out that when the guy, now I went there, it's like 30 miles from where I was born, and there was 24 hours a day. I said, well, I've never seen this much joy. 24 hours a day, the black folks was demonstrating in their cars, honking their horns with their children. And we know this Noval nighttime. So why did the prosecutor decide to read the results at 8 o'clock at night and not 12 noon? And then we found out Johnson, who said his hands was up, we found out he was a state witness and said he lied. Okay? That's what this country is about. Said he lied, and that night, 2 blocks from where the prosecutor, the state's attorney was reading the indictment and found him free, Johnson's best friend was killed, murdered. And only one paper ran it, and that was the Washington Post, and they compared it to, out of all the worst lynchings that's ever been, this would have topped them. And you don't know about it, but y'all want to call in, and great, but understand, you're not going to ride around in a 40 Chevy and compete with that brand new Rolls Royce. It don't work that way in America. And so the thing that we're lucky because the respect people have for Kathy Hughes and the radio station and
hang on a second, Greg. We gotta take a quick break here. We're at the top of the hour. I'll let you finish, and then we'll touch on what's going on right here on 1450. Where information is power.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show
on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
Thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is Dick Gregory. We're talking about a lot of things, but basically we're talking about Donald Trump and his win. And, Greg, I'm going to let you finish up what you were saying, and then a tweeter wanted to know about, ask him about the Russia. They gave, they're toasting Donald Trump in Russia. What's the significance of that?
Well, first, let me just finish this here. And so what we're looking at is a whole lot of craziness. When we get the autopsy of Malcolm X, all the bullets in Malcolm is going down. Them black cats they paid to kill Malcolm, they was on the floor shooting up. We said, wait a minute, what is this about? And then we find out, 2 weeks before, we found out the CIA was in there. And that's where they cut the holes in the wall, and they were shooting down. That's how Malcolm was killed. But the important thing about Malcolm is when he went to Africa and met up with DePinto, one of the fine minds on the planet. He stayed there for like 18 weeks, and he came back. He was a different person. So DePinto decided they would go to the doorsteps of the UN, not the UN, because they can keep you out of there, but on the doorsteps and take racism to the doorsteps of the United Nations. That was the game. that morning when they was shooting Malcolm in New York at the same time, Nairobi time, they were shooting the Pinto in the head. Huh? You mean the Nation of Islam had something to do with that? Huh? That? And so what I'm saying is, you come up with theory, Bill Cosby. If I had to take over the Bill Cosby, I'd go to the Freedom of Information Act and say, okay, I want to know how much oil is under the land of that property he got in Pennsylvania, more than they got in Kuwait. Do that mean it didn't happen? No, it don't mean it didn't happen. But I'm saying that's not what they after him about, okay? And so when you said, when his son was murdered, the one thing Bill knew, and I'm sure that had effect, the car he bought him had a reboot. No other car in the world but that Mercedes, a reboot is if you get a flat tire, it will reboot and fix itself. So here's somebody who was killed. First, it's stupid to believe that he's on the highway doing 80 miles an hour and somebody's going to try to stick him up, okay? The other thing is that he had $6,000 cash, his credit card. 6 months later, they arrested an American citizen who was a Russian immigrant. When we checked it out, he was in Mexico that night. We go and we get the legal work from the cops who said it was a robbery. You didn't say it then. And so what I'm saying is that you hear it and they just turn it into gossip. You know darn good and well any of y'all got any sense at all. The average black or white entertainer athlete can do anything they want to do to a woman, and nobody seems to care, huh? Because they athletes and they this and they that. And so consequently, when you stop and think about this Trump, and then I'll get right back to the lady's question. Trump, he's on an airplane, and a woman is on the plane, and she's sitting in economy. She says somebody brings her up front and sit her next to a man in first class who's Donald Trump. Then all at once she say, Donald Trump, listen to this now. Start playing with her. She said she didn't mind it when he was playing on her bosom, but when he reached under her skirt and went on left, oh, she got out with, well, first, most people heard that story. They made sure you heard it. Well, what did you hear? You didn't hear the name of the airline, huh? If I'm in a cab and the cab driver have a wreck, I don't sue the cab driver. He might not have no money. I sue the company. How come she didn't sue the airline, and how come no newspaper ran the airline? Nobody can come and take me from first class, from economy to first class, unless they have something to do with the airline. Who was the airline? Who was, and how come that woman didn't call the police? How come there's not a lawsuit against the airline? Are y'all crazy? They just throw it out there, and all at once we gobble it up, and then 2 days later you start looking at stuff, and it don't make sense at all. And so again, I'm saying, when you sit and look, we've been knowing ever since Trump got in, he would win. But it's not going to stop there, okay? It's going to go further than that, and you haven't seen the last of this yet, okay? And it could jump off tomorrow or the next day. And so what we're saying is, the lady asked a question about, what was the question about Russia?
Yeah, Russians are toasting him and they seem happy with Trump. What's going on there? Is some sort of collusion?
Didn't Francis Welch tell you that white supremacy have no boundaries? The average white person you met, Lester, they ain't white, huh? They're not white at all. And so consequently, they asked me, how I know if I'm white? Call the stock market. And if while you talking, you can't make the stock go up or come down, you ain't white. Now look at that. We get back to the Russian piece. Look at the stock market. The day before the election, the people sold, called sell high. And the next day of the election, they came back and bought, right back. Because if my stock is worth $1,000 a share, and I sell it, I get $1,000, and I know the stock market going to crash down to $30, I buy back. That's what it's about. But you have to have a tip and know what's going to happen. And so that's what happened. What made such a difference in Monday that you could sell it high and then come back Tuesday, the day of the election, and buy low? So if the stock was worth $1,000 when you, and now it's worth $30, look at the money you made, huh? And so this is what this is about. So we sit here, outsider, and somewhere, if I could wave a magic wand, I'd let you black folk go to Germany and study. Frances, she's not with us now. She studied in Germany, and she didn't do it for free. So y'all think y'all can just do something for free, and it's okay? I sit and I listen to you all talk on this show. One of the fine human beings on this planet, was Marcus Garvey. And then you black folk call them and say, well, we got to go to the president, and we need to get, 100,000 signatures. You got 2 years to get them. You couldn't get 25. I love black folk. I'll die for black folk. I wouldn't have listened to you neither. You punks, you got this much time for somebody like that, but you can fill up a damn concert that has nothing to offer but some craziness. But this man here, and those of you that hated it, want to talk about the president doing this and not doing that. Wouldn't do it for you neither, and I'm blacker than most of you all are, okay? But yet and still, you sit around and talk about 2 years. That don't say he was going to do it, but I would have been ashamed to get on this radio show and talk about the time you had, and you couldn't get 25,000 signatures, let alone 200,000, and you're going to blame the president for it? Something's wrong. Once you hear that, now to get back to the lady about the Russians, they ain't nothing but bosom friends, lady. Listen, we bought trillions of dollars from the Chinese, huh? And yet we accuse them of hacking everything over here. You think that ain't a deal already cut? We accuse them of hacking us. Did it ever dawn on you that it might be a group over there in China that hates the ones in power, and anytime they get ready to do something, they got to justify it? The last time the president was there a couple of weeks ago, they said, oh, they humiliated. The red carpet wasn't down. So that satisfies they jive friends over there who's against them. The richest country in the world, I'm going to say it twice. And remember, when you listen to me, truth don't have to be validated by your ignorance, okay? The richest country in the world is North Korea, okay? North Korea. But what do you hear NBC and them say? Oh, they children and stuff. Have you ever having child over there? They got army. They got technology. All them nuclear bombs they've been shooting our way, they didn't bar them. They put that together themselves. How'd they get it? Well, it's just like one day we find out nappy hair cure cancer. You know how valuable your hair is worth? You know how many white folks want you to live in the neighborhood so they can be next to the cancer treatment? You know how many black folks be wearing caps with locks on them? Well, let me tell you what happened. Korea wasn't no North and South Korea. It was one Korea. And they found out one day the tungsten they for millions of years, which wasn't nothing they could do with it, because you mixed it with metal and new inventions and stuff. When they go through temperature change, nobody needed it. The only thing America had a problem with temperature every now and then, the railroad tracks would crack in the wintertime, but it wasn't that much to happen. So now all at once, to get into the missile race and the space race and get into all the new technology like radar, you have to have tungsten because it goes through temperature spans.
Right. Hold that thought right there, Greg. And we got a bunch of folks got questions for you. 800-450-7876. We'll come back to Gregory and your questions after we look at the traffic and weather right here on 1450 WOL, where information is power.
He had his best friend. Why is he found out? That was the guy there. It's like 30 miles from where I was born. And there was 24 hours a day. I said, wow, there was so much joy. 24 hours a day, the black folks was demonstrating in their cars, honking their horns at their children. And we know this no violence started till nighttime. So why did the prosecutor decide to read the results?
The world to know you won't beat us, because we're the children of those that took the worst form of slavery and brutality that ever lived, that ever existed. Our parents survived the Middle Passage. Only the strong got here, and then we lost our name, our culture, our religion, and we're still here. So you may have a momentary victory, Mr. Bush, but you don't know who we are.
I pledge no allegiance. Fuck the president's speeches. What the industry did to Pac, they did to Jesus. Raping his vocals and then destroying the message. Trying to deport us if they can't destroy and arrest us. Government front religious, but their heart is empty. Like a televangelist preaching out of his Bentley. Calling abortion murder in a medical building, but don't give a fuck about bombing Iraqi children. Talking like eunuchs in a fucking libretto. Look at their mansions and look at your suburban ghetto. The gulag, the new hood, where they send us to live. Cause they don't give a fuck about none of our kids. That's why blacks and Latinos get the worst education, while devils run America like birth of a nation. Affirmative action ain't reverse discrimination. That shit is a pathetic excuse for reparations.
Come on, Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects.
It was you, nigga. It was you. Bush knocked down the towers. It was you, nigga. It was you, motherfucker.
Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects.
It was you, nigga. It was you.
Bush knocked down the towers.
It was you, nigga. It was you, motherfucker. They say that terrorism revolves around the Quran, but that's stupid. I show you why it's totally wrong. Cause if this country was invaded and crumbled, I'd turn Harlem into a Colombian jungle. And I wouldn't be fighting for a Christian nation. I'd be fighting for survival from extermination. I wouldn't fight for Fox News, them racist niggas. I'd be fighting for the hood, for the faceless niggas, for the immigrants America loves to despise, even though it needs them to make the economy rise. They feed us genetically modified garbage, so I repetitively reload the cartridge. Boston, New York, down to Atlanta, guerrilla war in the swamps of Louisiana. Camera panoramas of hammers couldn't rock me. East Coast to West Coast, you can't stop me. And fuck Schwarzenegger, his pops was a Nazi, and it runs in the family. So run for the Grammys, run to the Coon picnic, and try to pick up a mammy. But half of y'all are faggots trying to pick up a tranny. Eddie Murphy ass motherfuckers going commercial. Even Interscope is getting pimped by Universal. Green Tutankhamun lantern, a curse you and murk you. But the Bin Laden slush fund remix just burnt you.
Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects.
It was you, nigga. It was you. Bush knocked